Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among many other things. Today we're taking a look here at Adventure Gold, which is AGLD, and it's a request from one of my patrons. Thank you, Patricia, for requesting that I cover this. Sorry for the delay. Been a little bit on the busy side here, but all things considered, this is a really cool coin. I like newer coins to kind of see where they're, where they've trended, where they've gone, but I can tell you it's difficult sometimes to give proper predictions just based on the fact that we have less data. Regardless, I'll do my best and I'll help. Hopefully, I won't do you wrong. But if you're new to the channel, I am not a financial advisor. This is always for educational purposes only. And my goal is to help educate you, make you become more of an effective trader. I have a trading community based on that sole principle, right? So we always got to be patient and conservative and make sure we take profits when we still can. So if that kind of fits the mold of what you are, then you're probably going to love what you learn here today. If you're more of a, aggressive trader, that's all well and good. Take what you can from here, maybe calm down and pump the brakes a little bit. Regardless of that fact, I look forward to hoping to get to know you a bit better. If you want to consider joining my Patreon community, I send out signals. Every opportunity I get, I share all of my trades with my community members. We actually have a trading bot that kind of calls all the shots and sends everything out, and it's really nice and automated. You just one click follow if you're interested, if that's your thing. If not, that's okay too. You can learn a lot. Check it out in your own time. And without further ado, why don't we just go ahead and jump in the charts before I chat too much about other things. Let's get to it. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look here at Adventure Gold. And just before we do, we always look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first, get a quick baseline of the market so we know exactly what's going on, because we saw some pretty impressive stuff here from Bitcoin last, 72 hours? So we'll go ahead and take a closer look at that. And then also, of course, quick peek at Ethereum, dive deeper into AGLD. All right, so let's take a look here. First thing to preface is the fact that I always use TradingView.com desktop application. So I highly recommend using that yourself so you can follow along maybe a little bit more effectively. If not, that's okay too, but I have a link in the description below for a free month if you want to kind of try before you buy, see if you like it. I recommend a paid version just because it just makes a lot more sense. You don't have to keep enabling and disabling indicators. You can just have more than two present at any given time. So check that out. But here's a 4-hour chart for Bitcoin. And just to quickly preface, actually, let's go right back to the one-day chart first. We did close above 50,000. So obviously 50, I mean, you could literally say 51.5 is essentially a support level at this point based on the one-day chart. Now, will it stay there? Will it hold? I don't foresee that happening. We have to have some kind of retracement because it did increase a little too high and too quickly. And I was very surprised we didn't see a cup and handle form. Either way you look at it, we'll go ahead and digress from that. But I was expecting that to occur, and it kind of just faked us out. So joke's on us. But regardless of that fact, 4-hour chart's basically telling us that we are looking pretty good here for about 50,000 as a major support level. So if we kind of look here at, see here, the simple moving averages, we can see a convergence here essentially. In other words, the 50 is intersecting with the 200. That could have led to the increase here recently. Again, the 4-hour chart isn't the exact, bee's knees, so to speak, for a golden cross, but that does definitely influence the the price, right? Just keep in mind, again, Bitcoin's a bit on the overextended side. If we look at what the TD sequential on the 4-hour, we're at a 9 right now. So we have to start seeing some type of retracement soon, or it's going to, if it doesn't consolidate, if nothing else, it will have to come back down, okay? So let's just go ahead and take a look here at the, what is it? Let's take a look at Ethereum next. So take a look here at Ethereum. I'll go ahead and take a quick look here. Now, first things first, we've got a major resistance level up here, which it is getting closer to, right about 3,600. Really close, plus or minus 3,600. We've also got a similar pattern forming here where the golden cross might occur here soon. But bottom line, we got a support at about 3,200. So it's still within the channel of 32 and 36. But again, very much closer to 3,600. Now again, depending on what Bitcoin does here in the near future, we'll see Ethereum kind of respond to that. It hasn't fully broken away from it yet, but be prepared for it because Ethereum has a tendency of just kind of going off on its own at random times, but it's usually when Bitcoin goes sideways. And I'm expecting at least a couple of days of consolidation. I would venture to guess, my guess is that we're going to see a price kind of trend downwards to kind of break 50,000 and essentially trend closer to 48, 45,000, that channel there. The reason why I think that is just based on the simple fact that it's extremely overextended, and obviously we've got that that potential pattern that hasn't come to fruition yet. And anytime we see a reverse or just inverse or traditional head and shoulders pattern, there's a common tendency of it actually fulfilling. It's about an 80% likelihood of it doing that. So again, I still think that's a possibility. All right. That being said, let's go ahead and move on to AGLD. Let's kind of take a look here. And one thing to note, the price increase from recent here, because I know it kind of spiked up here today, it was introduced to the Binance exchange. So again, one of my patrons actually clued me in on that. Thank you very much, Patricia. And what that basically just means is that the price has increased because of that. I mean, granted that the price will likely increase just before that happened. In fact, let's look at the one-day chart and see. So you can see it kind of ramped up here yesterday, and it was introduced today. So simply put, it's ramping up, but the problem here that we're running into, and this could very well likely close here in just a little bit, we see the price coming close to its most recent resistance or most recent high. Okay, so we gotta respect that. There's a good chance that 353 is considered to be a resistance level. Again, it's above that right now, but we're literally 1 hour into this trading candlestick, so we saw a pretty significant increase here. But that being said, we are looking at a scenario where wherever that closes, if it closes below, it's considered resistance. Closes above, considered support. We literally have 23 hours to figure it out, so it's not official yet, but just know that is going to be a potential resistance level. It's presently a resistance until it breaks above and closes above, right? That's kind of the bottom line. So that's kind of what's going on with AGLD on the one-day chart. I don't think we have enough trading data yet for the moving averages. Obviously, we only have roughly 1 month. Its ICO date, if I'm not mistaken, is September 3rd. Correct me if I'm wrong. Feel free to comment below. But from what I can see here, from every exchange that I was able to look at, I couldn't find a date earlier than the 3rd. But I could definitely be off on that. So that being said, what I'm getting at here is a simple fact that we want to kind of honor support and resistance levels, but oftentimes I just kind of take the first ICO date out of the equation altogether because it's really kind of a flawed metric. It doesn't really help all that much. It's kind of like that standard deviation. You get rid of the highest and the lowest number. That's the highest in most cases. So what we do is we take the second highest, of course, which coincidentally, we had 3 days in a row where the price action closed right at about 632. So 632 is a major resistance, whereas present resistance, again, potential resistance, depending on how the candlestick closes, is about 438, 437, right in that range. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking at here for AGLD. Let's go ahead and take a look here at 4-hour chart for Adventure. Now, we can kind of see some patterns forming here. In other words, the price ramps up, sells off, ramps up again, and sells off. So hypothetically, if this continues the same trend, we'll see the price do one of these, possibly tomorrow. Now, this is all contingent, I feel, on a few things. Obviously, Bitcoin has to be progressing upwards for that to happen, right? Now, granted, this one kind of took off here today, I feel, based on the fact that we had the the ICO date, or sorry, this the release date or exchange. It was added to an exchange essentially on Binance, which is a big exchange, of course. So a coin going from smaller exchanges to larger exchanges, that the volume tends to spike that way. And therefore, that's what we saw here today. We shouldn't expect to see that again moving forward. So what we have to do is essentially rely on support and resistance levels and kind of anticipate the fact that it will probably consolidate likely above support. And if it loses this major support here, which is again still potential support at 437 or 438, then it'll come down to the secondary. And it looks pretty obvious to me that it spent some time right here at about 380. So we'll go ahead and mark that as well as a secondary support because it could lose this and fall down into the second channel. And what my guess is if we do lose this support level here, then it's going to come down and kind of work itself in this channel. But just keep in mind that, previous highs, once they're broken, they are very, very commonly referred to as a strong support. Okay, and you can see this was tested twice here, once as well here. So there's a good chance it will hold moving forward. But again, we want to make sure that one-day chart closes above to kind of get that confirmation. All right, that's kind of what we're looking at there. That being said, let's go ahead and take a quick peek at the, hold on before I move on. Do we have any kind of convergence on the MACD? We definitely did. What was that? It was right around 1700 on the 4th. So yesterday at 1700. Probably this guy right here. Yep. It's a pretty big candlestick, but we're just going to mark it anyways and kind of see how that correlates on the Ichimoku cloud. Because if you're new to the channel, the 4-hour MACD convergence is probably one of the best indicators you can use as a swing trader. You can use it for day trading, of course. Don't get me wrong, you want to use that and check it off the list before you jump into a smaller time frame. But big picture, you can literally just use the 4-hour chart for every single currency out there, stock, whatever it is. It really works the same. And you can essentially just use it as kind of an idea of where the currency is going, or in this example, a currency. So what I'm getting at is that when you have a MACD convergence, it's a pretty strong, what it does, it basically tells you that the bears have lost control and the bulls are taking control. So if you see down here, see the bears were in control right here, then they lost it right about this point. That's right when the 12 intersects with the 26 in an upward fashion. These are both exponential moving averages, and it essentially tells you that tide has turned, right? So that's a good sign here about the MACD. It really just helps you understand kind of what that looks like. And I try to teach that to my patrons all the time as well, and kind of reiterate that in my videos so you know. But if you're new to the channel, I send out signals for all my trades that I take, and those are, the trades that I actually end up taking usually have this kind of uniformity, right? I'm very particular with my trades. I don't like to just take a large majority of trades and just kind of guess and hope for the best. I have about an 85% success rate because I am very meticulous about my entry point by looking at the one-day chart all the way down to the 15 to ensure we find a good, we use best practice before we jump in. So just keep that in mind. But regardless, we've got a MACD convergence here, which is awesome. Another thing to know as well is the price is bouncing. It bounced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. It basically got rejected when it tried to come below, what, 5 candlesticks. In other words, that's 20 hours worth of consistent support from the 50-day simple moving average. Okay, so what's great about this is if we just say, the price ends up losing this support level here and it works its way into this channel, there's a strong chance the price will continue to push its way back up right here and kind of bounce back up to break its previous resistance. Okay, so that's just kind of how the natural nature of things goes. And again, it's not always foolproof. The 50-day simple moving average is not 100%, but it is a pretty strong likelihood that with it holding as a support previously, it'll continue holding moving forward. Again, just based on the overall average, because it's taken the last 50 days, or sorry, the last 54-hour candlesticks and averaging it out. And that basically tells us that that is a strong support. Moving on to the 1 hour, let's go ahead and identify the, because I mentioned this with the the Ichimoku cloud. Let's take a look at that here as well and kind of see what that looks like. Because anytime there's a MACD convergence, I marked that right here. It was just obviously this 1 hour worth of a pretty strong increase for 1 hour. Hold on, let's see what that is. Sheesh, 35% in 1 hour. That's pretty beefy. There's no excuse not to have a MACD convergence with that, right? But furthermore, let's take a look at the Ichimoku cloud and see that's right when it broke above. Okay, so the general rule of thumb, the Ichimoku cloud on the 1 hour chart, when the price breaks above, it's considered a buy signal. When it's below, it's considered a sell signal. In between, no buy, right? So you're not supposed to buy when it's in here. It's kind of a state of indecision. Comes below, consider shorting essentially, or you go long when it comes above. So again, just something to note. So that kind of holds true almost every single time I look at a MACD convergence on a 4 hour chart. There's going to be an Ichimoku cloud confirming that it's a good entry point. If the good rule of thumb is to use both concurrently, if you have both of them telling you have a signal, then you're probably in pretty strong shape. Especially the fact that this had that 50-day simple moving average working as a support level in the 4 hour chart. That's even more of a confirmation. So a lot of good reasons why this took off, and it continued as well, I believe, based on the ICO date for. Sorry, I keep saying ICO date. It's the actual introduction to the exchange on Binance that caused a lot of this. So again, that's where fundamentals come into play. When you hear a coin that's one of your favorite coins that you've been following, you're investing in, is going to be released on Binance or something very large, you might want to consider adding to your position because there's a strong chance it'll jump up. Now, sometimes it pumps and dumps. That could happen sometimes. But for the most part, what it does, it just adds a lot of popularity to the coin and gives you that extra oomph, so to speak, to push the price higher just strictly based on volume from people like you and I. That has nothing to do with the whales as well that will likely push the price up and possibly even drive it down once they've taken their profits. All right, let's take a quick look here. TD sequential, we're not going to see much. We got a bunch of resets there. We don't need to spend much time on that. Generally speaking, a TD sequential will tell you if you're in a state of exhaustion. With this pattern here, you're not going to really disseminate much. But what we can tell you, and just based on the charts alone here, is it has a strong pattern of up over and up over. This is healthy. This is a good strong bull run. There's a strong chance there's a good chance there's going to be a continuation. All right. So those are the things that I look for. Just bear in mind too. We gotta we got to see how the support level here responds. With the price kind of bouncing out of the support one time already, excluding the previous times that it did so, I would say that we're in pretty good shape for the price to possibly at least consolidate sideways before it ramps up again. However, pay attention to Bitcoin. If Bitcoin dumps between, dumps under 51,000, somewhere in the range of, sub 50,000, so to speak, then we should expect this to kind of retrace, come back down to the next support channel. Okay. The last thing we can look at here is the 15-minute charts. Honestly, there's not going to be a lot to extract here as well for EMA and VWAP. This is normally something I like to look at, but it's more helpful to look at EMA and VWAP when you're not in a state of consolidation. So, I mean, if we were to look kind of further back, we could probably identify some better trends. But right now, we can just see the price is kind of just hovering above and below EMA and VWAP. The volume weight average price is a good support and resistance level. Right now, it's under that, but that doesn't matter much because it literally just reset here about an hour ago. So we don't have a ton of accurate data, for lack of better terms. So you can't really use the VWAP all that much because you can kind of see that it had reset recently. Okay. So just keep that in mind. That's kind of where we're at here for the moment. But all that being said, let's go ahead and take a big picture, take a look at the big picture again, and just kind of see what's going on, because what you want to look at is this average true range and kind of see where it's at. That's typically what I like to identify. In this case here, in order to kind of forecast the future or understand where it's going to be, we want to see where it spent the most amount of time. It literally spent most amount of time because, again, it's been a short amount of time in trading. So it's literally been roughly just a month, just a little over a month worth of trading data. So with there being lack of trading data, all you can really do is rely on support and resistance levels we've already identified, because these first few days of trading don't really give us a good average. Its average has been somewhere in the range of about, I would say, $3 is its average true range. So right now it's kind of in, I wouldn't say it's all-time high category, because obviously it had a higher price point before, but you can literally take all that out of the equation, because right here, the 1st of September, the first week of September, we had a nice sell-off, right? Therefore, this sold off as well. So I'm not surprised by that. So what I'm getting at here, translate, is just a simple fact that we are going to experience likely an increase from AGLD, but I think it's going to be contingent on Bitcoin and how well Bitcoin will perform here moving forward. So if you're in a position right now, I mean, I wouldn't stress or consider selling it, because I think there's a strong likelihood it'll bounce off the current support level here that's being established right at about 438, and it should continue back to the upside, because it does have a tendency of continuing the same pattern. I mean, you see this here, up over, up over. All we need is another, 12 to 24 hours of consolidation before we get another leg up. Again, that's a strong likelihood, but keep this in mind too. It did this partially because it had an introduction to another exchange, right? So if it doesn't perform and we don't get that leg up, you can expect some sideways action, possibly even a retrace down to the channel between 378 and about 435 as a rough estimate. So I'm unable to kind of tell you and predict how this is going to go in the future because we don't have enough data, right? So to kind of predict the future, you really just look at the past, right? That that's how we are as people in general. We're a product of our history, and you can't shape the future unless you know what the past is. That's usually how trading goes. Okay, so just keep that in mind. We can't necessarily just say I'm going to be pulling numbers out of a hat to say it's going to be reaching $6 to $7 in a month. I don't necessarily know that. But I can tell you, if it continues the same trend that it's had before and has consistency, it will get there within about a month or two. And the fact that we are expecting to see Bitcoin take off in October, it's already kind of done that. There's a good chance we're going to be able to see, this probably 2x at least. That would be my guess before year end. When it's going to happen, how high it's going to shoot, those are things we don't know at this point. All right. So hope you found benefit. Again, if you did, please like and subscribe, or feel free to join my Patreon account. We do have a private chat group, and I pretty much help educate everyone as much as possible on best practice things to help you be more successful in this industry. So thanks again, Patricia. Really appreciate your request. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you all for joining me here today. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.